Hey, Fortitude audience. Just want to give everyone a heads up that this next episode has a little bit of PG language in it. Just a couple different things that we want to give everyone a heads up just in case. And then also we do discuss the law enforcement and what Manny's experience was like living in the Bronx, and specifically to him when he was there is what we're referring to when we do speak about the NYPD. It is not a general statement at all, because we love our law enforcement and we are so grateful for each and every one of you who serve.
Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right.
Well, hello, Fortitude audience. My name is Heather Kittleson, and I'm your host with my husband, who is the co-host, Amos.
Hello.
And today we have a young gentleman with us by the name of Manny. Hello, Manny.
What's going on?
Oh, man. Manny, you are a blast. I love serving in this community with you.
Yeah, it's cool.
Just to give a background on who Manny is and why he is here today, he works for a company called Think 3D, and I am on the board of Bridging the Gap.
Yeah.
And our journey started a year ago in September when you and I both spoke on the stage at the convention center for CultureCon.
Let's go.
Which is my favorite, absolute favorite conference that is held in Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with the energy that's behind it, but I just want to say that there's so much goodness that comes out of Think 3D. And so the fact that you left your full-time gig to join forces.
17 years. And I was like, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
You jumped.
Yeah.
The minute that Tamian and Bonnie invited you to join their team, it was kind of a no-brainer. And we'll speak to that coming up here, because you guys have a long history.
Yes. And it works just like that. That's how it usually is anyway. It's like, even like when we were doing music together, it was, they had already established a thing. They were the noblemen first. And then I came in to Sioux Falls. Thomas, Rotate, he had left the group. So there was like this void. My brother did security for the noblemen.
Oh, yeah.
And he kept saying, I got my little brother. He raps. He does things. So then me and V linked up, and then boom, that's how that happened. So then fast forward all this time through all the years, they said, we're going to start this thing. I was there for the meeting. I remember when they were saying, we're going to start meeting every Monday, 9:00. I was there when they were talking about the book and what they were going to do. And God was leading them there, and then it was like, we're going to establish this, and then boom, here I go. After they get this thing established, and they're like, bring on Blitz, aka Manny, right? and now we here, and it was the best move I could have made professionally, honestly. I feel free, unleashed, and just my spirit is full. I feel good.
When you are living out your purpose.
Yes.
It is, the word magical isn't quite right in the world of the supernatural when it comes to Christ, but it really does feel mad. It's like, man, is this right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like this is my life. Like, and me and V would, and T too, like we'll talk on the phone sometime, and I'm like, this is my life, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. You get to live this every day.
It's my job. Like I'm at a podcast.
Yeah, just hanging out with me and Amos.
It's my job. Yeah, that's what I do. Well, nobody's tripping at work.
A&H.
A&H.
Also known as A&H.
A&H, that's what it is.
T and V and A&H.
Right. And if you put M in there, it's meh.
Yeah, meh. It's much more
doesn't
than
really
meh.
describe us very well, does it?
No.
Nothing about us is meh.
Oh, Manny.
No.
So funny.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to actually meet you, Emmett, because I heard amazing things about you, brother. So
Man.
Well, it's really cool to meet you.
I appreciate that. That's a testimony to my wife.
Yeah.
Just to her having a positive attitude, because I'm not perfect.
No,
I got my things.
No,
but all you heard is the good stuff. So
no.
testimony to
No,
my
that's
bride
pretty
here.
I heard some tough stuff.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
good.
so
okay.
we good though. But I mean,
On second thought.
Then so my wife is out here talking. Now it was cool though. It's what the spirit like. Like your wife said, you were very good at discernment, right? I feel like I am too. Like I get it. You talked about being, I'm an energy person. And I think that was a gift God gave me very, very, very young, as a survival mechanism first, and then as you grow and I was in the biggest projects in the Bronx at the time. I think we got overpassed right now, but you have to know your environment. You have to know who's danger, who's safe. And I used to just feel people's spirit, their energy. And it's like,
amazing.
Let me stay away from that. But also it helped me help people. And talk to people and go. And I can see through some of the BS.
That's one of those things you just can't teach.
No.
You can't teach that. And there's people who would give upwards of a lot for that capability. So I think it's a great gift.
It is. It's scary though sometimes.
Yeah, we talked in great detail about that when we had brunch the other day about how it's a gift that you can run from or you can embrace it and use it for good. Because when you see things you don't want to see, with good and evil and all the things, and let's just go there because Manny, you were in it. You were in the middle of evil and gang and blood and shooting. And so you grew up without a dad and in the Bronx.
Yes.
Oh my, it's a little bit of a double whammy there, Manny. So just go there.
Yeah. So it's, my dad was in prison when I was born. So, little history, just long line of just crime, I guess. You know what I mean? He's a street dude. He's a street guy. Really good guy, charismatic, fun loving. Like I got a lot of his characteristics, and I realized that as I got older as an adult, and we rekindled our relationship, and we had a really good relationship before he passed. But growing up, I didn't know any of that stuff. So it's me, my mom, my brother, my sister in the projects. And that's just home. Yeah. It's just home, right? But you getting raised in the 80s. And in the 80s, we called it the crack invasion. So it was like crack was huge in the projects, like crack vials everywhere. And then in the crack vials had specific tops. And on those tops would tell you where it came from. So like, if it was a red top, we knew that came from this guy. Oh. If it was an orange top, we knew that came from this guy. If it's like a purple top, you're like, that's not from around here. That must be from such and such. So so you start seeing that as a kid, you pick this silly stuff up.
Yeah.
But we were never, it was a way of life. And I think we talked about that too, Evan, is that I wasn't afraid of any of those guys. Like I wasn't afraid of the drug dealers. Like those guys were superheroes, man. Like they were out here giving kids money, paying for basketball tournaments. But if you were caught up in that game of the life, they scary.
Right.
But if you're not, I mean, this was a time where there was some kind of rules. Right now it's a little rogue, but there were some rules of the game in there. And so being in the middle of that, actually the biggest gang to us was NYPD. Like that was the biggest gang.
They were scary.
They were super scary because they were brutal. It wasn't just, hey, what's going on, guys? It was brutal. It was hands against the wall, hitting you in the head, knocking you down. Just horrible things that, you get taught in school. Find a police officer if you are lost. Or I'm cool. I'm straight.
Ooh,
I'd rather go holler at Curly or them boys or Gito or one of them dudes. I'd rather talk to them and say, I need help.
So you had the law who was supposed to uphold and protect, serve and protect, right?
Right.
And they may have been doing that through their eyes, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. There was, sounds like I hear racism, and then I know that was rampant back days, and up and down.
Yeah.
And yet the people committing the crimes weren't doing that to you.
No, not at all. And that was the biggest thing. It was like, fun fact, the only way I envisioned white people, like when I came to South Dakota, it was super culture shock, right? From the Bronx to Mitchell.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, all right, here we go. But the only time I ever saw white people, we had 2 white people in my whole projects.
Whoa.
It was Sweetie and Billy. And Billy was special. He had special needs.
Okay.
But nobody mess with Billy. Don't mess with Billy.
Yeah,
Like
he was
Billy,
protected.
Yeah, he was very protected.
Okay.
Like Billy would walk around, he had headphones, he would sing Bruce Springsteen at the top of his lungs, walking through the projects with his little Walkman, or if he got new shoes, he wanted to show you let me show you the Pumas. I want to see my new Pumas, man. And they'd be like, oh, Billy got the new Pumas, right? And then every once in a while somebody will bully Billy, and they're gonna pay for that. Right? Leave Billy alone. And then Sweetie was this beautiful dark hair woman. She lived in the building next to us. And she had a son named Little Tony, and we all kicked it. But that was it. Oh, and then her mom, Sis. Okay. And Sis didn't take no junk. She was a tough little old white lady.
Yeah.
But at that point, you don't even look at them that way. It's just Sweetie, Sis, and Billy. That was it. Okay. Right? It's not even, white people were the cops. White people were Wall Street people. So not very friendly. Not, they had money, or you were the cops.
Not out for our best interest.
Did the police leave your neighborhood when they went off shift and then come back into your neighborhood on shift? Or could you see them off?
Never see a cop off duty.
Oh.
Ever.
Okay.
Fun fact, the police station, we had precincts, right? We had precincts. So it was the 47th precinct. 3 minutes from my apartment, or across the street from the project. So my project was the north and the south side. So when crimes are happening, right, it's big. So it's north and south side. And you picture, I don't know, just picture East 10th, right? Just go from Cleveland to Sycamore.
Okay. And for those who don't live here, that's going to be a little tough.
Yeah. So let's say a 3-mile radius.
Okay.
Right? 3 mile.
Oh, you're talking Sioux Falls?
Yeah.
I was in the Bronx.
Yeah. So then load like 30 buildings.
Okay.
In that
3-mile
high
radius.
rise. I mean, they're tall.
Yeah, tall,
right?
14 stories. And then they got the little buildings, 3 stories.
And it's compact. So it's high density.
Yes. Right. So now, and then put the police station, I don't know, half a mile away.
Okay.
And then the response time of 3 hours.
Jeez Louise.
Explain that one.
Yeah. And it probably was so continuous, just always needing.
So the option of calling the police.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, okay, well, we could, or we could take somebody to the hospital that needs to go to the hospital, or we could call who we needed to call in the street to be like, yo, this happened, blah, 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 blah. And then there we are.
And my guess is that the police entered into the situation always with the
force.
Here we go again. Here we go again. Never believe in the best. Never seeing anybody but just
with the heavy hammer.
Evil.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so in the projects, there's one way in, right? We called it the drive. So the drive is a one-way street that curves all the way through. So I lived on the south side of the projects, and then there was a north side. So both of them had just kind of one way in. And it was a one way, so you couldn't go the other way. So it's one way in, one way out. And so that'll it's a testament to, the congestion, right? It's all there, right? There's an elementary school there, PS 112. And then there's a junior high school, which is on the north side of the projects. And that's John Philip Sousa. And then there's a high school there that nobody went to, really. Nobody went to, and it was across the street from the projects, and it's called Cardinal Spellman. Catholic school. So a lot of white people there never interacted with them, no.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. So nobody from the projects went to Cardinal Spellman. Like, nobody. If you did, it was like, I don't know. I never met him. So,
yeah.
But anyhow, you growing up in this environment in the 80s, and I remember it vividly. My mom was doing well. We were doing, she was working. And then when drugs hit home, is when things kind of changed. Like, mom was getting heavy into drugs herself. She had a boyfriend that turned into a stepdad. And then they would get into arguments and stuff like that. But I remember, like, my mom, and it wasn't a weird thing. It wasn't like oh my God, my mom is the only one on drugs. Like, everybody's parent in this time period was usually high or getting, I got caught up in this. And like I said, we call it an invasion because it was like a tidal wave. It was like one day they talked about this new drug. And the next day, boom, it's
in every house.
Flooded, right? And it's in apartment complexes and they make movies about stuff like this.
Yeah.
And people go, it's not real. No, it's very real. When you got a specific drug dealer that has a complex.
And what were people like when they were high? Erratic?
Scary. So it's erratic, right? Like, looking back, I can say it's scary. As a kid, we made fun of it.
Yeah.
Right? You call them crackheads. Oh, you a crackhead. Your mama's a crackhead. One of those things. But they would do just erratic things, crazy things, taking their clothes off, running around, or doing whatever, selling broken things or stolen things. And so you could go around and get a crackhead price. You know what I mean? I remember my first Nintendo came from a crackhead. Like, my mom bought a whole Nintendo with 13 games, and it was like $60.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good deal.
That's a huge deal back then, right? Because I think a Nintendo was $100-something back then. That was a lot of money.
So were they dangerous? Or they were just erratic?
They were dangerous as well. They were violent, rape, stuff like that. Like that. There was a point in time where that was like a fear for kids, of kids getting raped. Like, it was weird, because they take you in a building. We have these tall buildings, man. There's a lot of
they can hide.
They can
corners.
hide.
Yeah.
You know
so
what I mean?
for a parent living there, it's just constant fear.
But if the parent is high,
right.
There's really, he's just saying it kind of ran rapid across
so when
the
you
community.
look, like my mom introduced us to God. Let me make that clear. My mom is my hero. She's my rock, right? So she introduced us to God. But it was very confusing. Okay, we were a very spiritual family, but it was very confusing. So being able, like, one week we had a Pentecostal church, another week we had a Catholic Spanish church where everything looks terrifying and Jesus is bleeding and he's, these stained windows and this, like, that music is like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And then the next week we had a church and people are passing out and the Lord said and everything. And it's like, oh my God. Like, so at this point, God is kind of crazy. Right? And my mom was very iron fist. She ruled with an iron fist. So everything she was very overprotective, but also brutal in certain ways with her mouth. Sometimes physically, it was just a lot, right? And so we were always held on a short leash, but also we were put in just messed up situations now that I think about it. Like, before a while, my house was the party house. I remember how it graduated. Like, it would be mom would have a bunch of people over. It'd be mom and Benjo, which was her boyfriend, stepdad, right? Mm-hmm. And they would party, and it'd be cool. And it went from that to now things started changing. Like, I can't come out my room now. Or, like, now you have to, make sure nobody's knows that these people are here. And then now it's people I've never seen before coming here. And then you start to realize, looking back now, it's like, oh, our apartment was a holding spot.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
A packet.
Yeah,
you talked about the package that showed up at your doorstep.
So, like, we had one guy in particular from the Dominican Republic. He would come through have a meeting. They package stuff up. So my house is a holding spot for dope, right? And so, of course, that's a good deal for my mom, right? Because then
she's not distributing. Holding means she probably is getting paid just to have us to hold it.
Yeah, and I don't even know if she's getting paid.
Or
to be honest, maybe she's getting a free lick. So, you're dealing with that. Meanwhile, my brother's in the streets. He's dealing with that kind of stuff. My brother went from being a mama's boy, kind of. He's my big brother, and in the streets, you can't be soft. Right, and he's a big guy, so he hit this growth spurt, and I just remember when he just decided, "This no more. I'm not gonna get picked on no more." And then he just became this fighter, and hot tempered, and so then he's in the streets, and then he starts selling drugs and doing things like that. But I remember when I decided I wasn't. I know I'm everywhere here, but I remember I realized I didn't want to sell drugs ever when I had to go pick up a package from Poppy. Poppy owned this grocery store. And I go to get this package from Poppy. Poppy says, bring this to your mama. I go bring it to my mama, and I realize what it is when I give it to her. And then that settled it for me. Like, I don't want to sell drugs because then I got to give this to my mom. And then I had to act like in that moment, my mom's like, I want to yell, so you got to go upstairs, and then they act like you're in trouble because she's paranoid, right? She's thinking everybody's watching, so I got to fake like I'm in trouble and go upstairs like I wasn't supposed to do something. And of course I did it. I was a kid, But then I remember my mom just getting off of drugs, cold turkey. I'll never forget the night. I was crying. I remember I wanted to sleep with her in her room that night. I'm probably 7 or 8. I don't know about that. I'm knocking on her door. She used to lock her door all the time. So I'm knocking on her. Mom, please, I want to go inside. Mom, I'm tired. Mom, can I lay with you? Mom, can I sleep with you? Mom. And she's talking to a dude in there. And I know they're getting high or whatever, but he's mute, that was like one of the oddest things I've never seen that. That's a scary dude anyway. Big dude, can't talk, can't hear, just makes weird noises. So that's scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I finally get my way. She opens the door. She tells me, lay in the bed, put the blankets over my head. And I know they're getting high because I can hear it. And she's talking to this mute dude.
Who can't hear her.
He can't hear her. You know what I mean? But she's saying, I got to stop doing this. Like, I can't keep doing this. I got kids. I got to raise my kids. I can't. This is too much. This is the last time, blah, 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 blah. And I'm listening to this. I'm like, please, I hope this is the thing, right? Because we were going through it. And the next day, I fell asleep. I wake up the next day. She tells me, go to the store. I need you to buy Italian bread, just like a hoagie, right? A big Italian bread hoagie, right? And butter and bananas. And God, this time she was super skinny. She lost so much weight from drugs, so much weight. And that was like the typical sign when, crackhead. When you start losing all your weight and, you start to look bad. My mom is a beautiful woman. And not just because that's my mom, but everybody would say so. Say, Gypsy. Her name's Gypsy. That's her street name, her nickname, Gypsy. Gypsy's so beautiful, right? But anyway, that was the day after that. She ate bread and butter with bananas. She had banana sandwiches with butter and gained all her weight back. And then she never went back to drugs. She just stopped. Wow. And she got her life together. She went to college. She did the whole thing, like this huge turnaround with no help, God was, she did a lot of praying. I remember that. And she'd wake us up on Sundays and she'd have incense burning and she's playing Spanish spiritual music. And you're like, all right, well, it's time to clean, I guess. That's what we're doing right now. But that was the thing. And then fast forward, things are going well. She divorces my stepdad. He had went to jail, then he came out, and he was still in the life. Yeah. And my mom was like, I'm done, so you're done. So then it's just us again. My sister's pregnant. her first child. My brothers, both of them dropped out of high school. My brother's in the streets doing this thing. And she meets this person, and mom, for me, I look back, I said mom needed a break, because my mom was single mom, 24/7, 365. There was no break. There was no go to your dad's for the weekends. There was no go to grandma's for the weekend. It was every day. So we went through every single moment, every up, every down, every bit of violence, everything that we've seen, domestic violence, all of it. We were there.
Yeah.
There was no break. And I think this was my mom's breaking point. So at 12, my mom moved to Brooklyn. She asked me if I wanted to go. Of course I don't want to go to Brooklyn. I don't know nobody in Brooklyn, right? And so my sister, she left in charge.
So you say you did not want to go to Brooklyn?
Absolutely not.
You wanted to stay?
I'm in the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx.
That's all you know.
That's all I know. So all my friends are here, So from 12 to 15, my mom's in Brooklyn. And she'll stop by every once in a while, drop off some money. And my sister was in charge. So my sister having to be in charge, so now she's working 2 jobs. So she's working 2 jobs as a dispatcher.
And how old's your sister?
So Peachy's 8 years older than me. So she's 20.
Okay.
Right.
She's an adult.
Yeah, she's an adult. And then my brother, he's 18. He in the streets. Right? So he's trying to sell drugs or whatever. Make his little money, do what he got to do. So then that leaves, if you can imagine that, I got a lot of self-time, a lot of alone time. And then I start hanging out. I'm in middle school. I'm thinking I'm cool because I learned how to box. So now I can fight, and I'm fighting people, and I'm doing the thing. And then I decide I have this great idea. I said, you know what, man? I got a few of my friends together. We're going to start this gang, man. We're going to start this gang. We're going to start, it was called Boricuas Don't Play, which is so stupid, right? BDP is what we called it, right?
BDP.
BDP. And then we had beads. We had the whole thing, right? But we're going to do the thing. We're going to run the streets. I'm 12, by the way. Oh. I was 165 pounds, though. So I had a man body with this little baby face. Yeah. Right? But I could fight. I could box. Yeah. So I was in shape that way. And I remember the last time I decided this was a bad idea, right? God had a way of showing me, Manny, you're not cut out for this. Just like I wasn't cut out to sell drugs. He showed me that right away. Mm-hmm. Right? He said, do you want to sell to your mother? Absolutely not. Right? Do you want to see your life like this? No, absolutely not. So now I'm starting this gang. I had a friend, Shamika, that was like my sister. And she's like, hey, this dude did something to her. I don't even remember what he did, but I had to go check him now. So now I'm going, I can tell the boys, I got my bees, I roughed this dude up as a Jamaican cat. I'm like, yo, don't mess with my sister, whatever it is. After school, I get out after school, doing what I do, just hang out, being loud, boisterous, and kicking it. And I see these guys from Seton Avenue, which is the rival neighborhood. And there's like 30 dudes. And they're waiting outside. I'm like, And then they tell me, oh, dude, you jacked up. It's from Seton Avenue. Great. All right. So now this is going down. So
what's that mean?
Which part?
I'm not sure.
Which part?
You said you walked out and there was a rival gang outside. And they said something. They said
so one of the people told me that the guy that I roughed up for my friend, my sister, is from
this other gang.
Oh, and they got word that you were going to do this thing.
Yes. And so now they're waiting for me after school.
Yeah.
Mind you, this is a middle school.
Gotcha.
Right? Mm-hmm. This is a middle school, and these grown men are waiting for a middle schooler.
And do they talk to you like a grown man, or they talk down to you?
No, they talk to you. Well, they talk to you like a rival.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like an adult.
Yeah. It's not like, hey, little dude, get your life together. Nah, it's
No.
none of that.
No.
It's we gonna beat you up. You know what I mean? And so that happened. So we in the middle, and I got my boy Justo who got word. The word travels in the projects very fast. And so he comes down. So me and my boy is back to back because we just gonna fight. Like there's no running at this point.
Against the 30.
What you gonna do? Where you gonna run?
I don't know what you're going to do.
You got 30, okay? You run. Chances are one of them are faster than you. Just one of them, right? It's just, so ain't no running. It's like, okay. And I'm on the north side of the projects, right? We're in the middle school. That's on the north side of the projects.
But you're from the south,
side.
yeah.
I'm from the south side. So there's a little sibling rivalry between north and south side. Oh. But if we are outside of the boundaries, we're together.
It's, yeah.
So you could be a north sider, I could be a south sider. If we on Fordham Road, we're together. If we're in the projects, I don't really like you.
So you were outside the boundaries then?
So I'm on the north side.
Oh.
I'm on the north side in school. So when I leave, they get there and we get surrounded. I'm ready to scrap. And north
against the 30.
Against the 30. I mean, it's going to happen.
Got a heart of a lion, man.
Well, no. I was terrified, right? But what's the other option? Well, excuse me. If you run, one, I'm running in the north side.
Yeah, someone's gonna get you.
Right. Mm. Two, that's not a good look if I won't be in the game. Right? It's
squeal and
right,
run.
I ran. Right. So there's nothing like that. So I'm committed, and then again, God, nothing happens there because Northsiders come down because they hear some Seton Avenue guys are in the north side. So a bunch of guys from the north side come down and they break all that up. The Seton Avenue guys are scurrying off. So in that moment, it's like, yes, thank you that I didn't have to do that. So any normal kid is like, I dodged that, go home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not me. Right? I'm out here. I'm like, E-Man is out here. He's like, yo, you saw them dudes run? Yeah. So now we're actually hanging out with Northside guys. Yeah. And we on the corner. Now, I told you there's a drive-in. There's one way in, one way out. So we on the corner. They gambling. Some guys are drinking. Some popular neighborhood thugs. I'm leaving names out. Yeah. Right? And they out here. They're basking in the victory, right? We chased them Seton Hall dudes out, Seton Avenue. And then I'm standing in the vision of the drive on the north side, and I see this car pulling up. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's a brown, like Caprice, Chevy Caprice. And I see it pulling up slow. That's always bad news. Slow car, you don't recognize, pulling up. And I see a guy, he has long hair, native looking dude. He comes out and he pulls out a shotgun. He jumps out. And I'm like, oh, shoot. So he runs towards me, like 5 guys come out of the other side, and he just cocks the shotgun, and he's shooting at me. And I take off, and I'm, please God, get me out of this one. Yeah. I don't want to die. So I'm zigzagging, I'm doing all this thing.
How far away, what's the distance between you and him?
Too far. I think it's...
Is it a football field? Is it half football field?
No. So I would say 40 yards, roughly, right?
Yeah.
So he's letting off shots. You know, those don't go very far,
but they spray.
But they spray.
Yeah.
So, but once I see him pull up, I'm not waiting for him to shoot.
Right.
Once I see him cock, I start bolting. I hear, right?
Man.
So that's going on. And then I hear the other guys from North Side. Now they got their stuff, so now it's happening. It's a shootout. I'm just trying to get home, right? So I'm running. I'm hauling to the south side, right? I gotta get to the south side. I'm cool. So I get across the street. Once I cross the street from north side to south side, I'm cool. I run to what we call the big park, which is the only park we have in the whole project. So it has a 3-foot pool, by the way. It's a 3-foot pool that's probably, 15 feet long for all the kids in the projects, both sides.
Yeah.
Imagine how much swimming is being done there.
Yeah.
None. But anyway, so that was the day, and I remember I didn't go to school for 2 weeks. I was like, I'm done. I don't want to, like, called up to guys that were in my gang, man, we should probably not wear the beads.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's a clear sign. And we should probably chill and lay low. And so, rumor has it, a lot of those guys didn't make it.
Oh, man.
But when I finally went back to school, it was like, yeah, I'm done with that life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want nothing to do with being in a gang, a part of a gang. And then you start to realize, like, I start learning, like, what it is to be around wolves for real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, like, you see a real killer versus just a guy who talks.
Why was that guy shooting at you? Because you were running your mouth? Because you were
no, that was part of that group that was waiting outside for me.
And it was they were targeting you.
Yeah, they were targeting
a 12-year-old.
They don't see a 12-year-old.
They don't see an age. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't see a 12-year-old. They see a dude that beat up one of their dudes. Mm-hmm. So they're not looking at him like, oh, it's just a little kid. And Seton Avenue had this Napoleon complex because they were a small little neighborhood. So they always had to do extra because Edenwald was the projects.
Manny, I could sit and listen to your stories for a really long time. We're already running out of time, which is crazy.
Cow. Really?
But I really want to touch on a couple more things because thank you for sharing that. And I'm so glad that those bullets missed you.
Yes, me too.
You are, I'm guessing you're fast, hence the football scholarship and how you ended up here and all the things. And so when we were talking, you said you're a public figure. You have been on a lot of stages. You've performed. Mm-hmm. You went, so it's like, I see this little, like, take this story. And if you see the Manny that I'm looking at right now, it's like this beautiful Puerto Rican man who is buff as all get out, who like boxing and all the things. And it's like, you have a spirit about you. Like, you are just full of the Holy Spirit. The way that God's got a hold of you is really beautiful. And so that's why I just love to just let you go with that story, because the outcome and
such a contrast.
who you are today, it's like
that checkmate, right? So through this time, I stopped boxing. I fall in love with football. And I go to Truman High School, and I do pretty well. And then I meet Marvin Glorback, who saved my life. That was my coach. Saved my life. He didn't know that. And I finally got to talk to him 2 years ago to tell him that.
Oh, good.
Because he didn't know what that meant. Like, he worked with me individually. I coach because of him. I get emotional.
I know. I love that. I love it.
He could have told me run through a wall. I'm not gonna question.
I'm running
because I could do it. Because he told me I could do it, right? And so, he ends up retiring my senior year, and I did not know how to deal with that. Oh yeah, right. So father figure type dude, right? And he believed in me, right? You hearing something positive from somebody who's not a dope dealer, who's not, right? This is a guy who's big Jewish dude, big buff Jewish dude, hairiest forearms I've ever seen in my life, right? And he stood perfectly parallel, like his feet were always perfectly parallel. Like, it was crazy. But anyway, we get a new coach, and I made that coach's life live in hell. And I know I did. He wasn't a very good coach, but I wasn't a very good team player at that point. I was just the captain. Anyway, I went from having a lot of scholarships offers and a lot of schools looking at me as a junior to, like, they were disappearing, and I didn't hear anything, and it was really quiet my senior year. And then signing day come and goes, and I'm not going anywhere. And I'm like, what is this? So we have my last meeting with Coach Russo. And Coach Russo's like, I was like, where's the binder with the colleges Coach Glorback had? I don't know what you're talking about. I never wanted to punch a man in his face so bad at that point. But I remember thinking after going through that ordeal and him not knowing what I'm talking about, saying you should pick up a trade, do a trade school or something like that. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
so total contrast from what you had because you had this coach who just spoke life into you. You looked up to as like a hero and a dad figure and all this.
And then Russo is this guy who, and to his defense, I was an a-hole.
Yeah, yeah,
right.
because you
I didn't know how to deal emotionally with not having glow back.
Yeah.
So anyway, I remember we were playing basketball that next morning or something like that. It was a Friday, so it was Saturday, and I'm sitting on the floor in between games, and I'm going, I'm gonna die here. This is it. This is my life.
I'm gonna die in the Bronx.
I'm gonna die here in the projects. This is what it is. This is my life, right? May comes right before graduation. I get a letter from Dakota Wesleyan University offering me a football scholarship to go play football in Mitchell, South Dakota. And I'm like, what? What is this?
Where is South Dakota?
Yeah, where is this? Right?
Give me a map, man.
And at this point, my mom is back. So, I graduated at 17. I was a 17-year-old freshman in college. And so you didn't have to convince me. Hell yeah, I'm going.
Yeah.
And so I remember right before I left, I was jogging, training because I'm ready to go to college now. And one of the biggest, baddest dudes in the project stops me. And he was not a guy that you wanted to talk to. If you saw him, you didn't really want no problems with this in particular person. And he says, yo, come here, shorty. All right. So now I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to have to scrap at some point. And he's like, hey, man, I heard you going to college. I said, yeah. He said, don't ever come back.
Oh.
He said, there's nothing here for you, but don't ever forget us. And so that's hence why I have E-Man tattooed on my arm, because every time I got in a three-point stance, I looked at my hand. It's a reminder of, he said, either one ain't got nothing for you no more.
That's cool.
Don't come back. And I was like, wow.
Man.
Wow. In my head, I heard him say, take a coat because it's cold.
Yeah, right.
So
no, most people didn't even know what South Dakota is. Like, I told people I'm going to South Dakota. Oh, you going down south? That's good, man. That's real good. I'm like, yeah, nah, that's not exactly. But all right. You know what I mean? All right. But I realized again where I thought it was over.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm ready. This is it. I've accepted my fate. I'm going to die in these projects. God goes, nope. Checkmate.
And not only.
Right? Yeah. So we go from Glowback who fed me life, who saved my life, to Russo, who's just complete opposite. Mm-hmm. And I'm not helping my situation. To me making the mistake of being completely an a-hole as a kid. To God using that mistake and saying, nope, checkmate. If I could turn back, because I know this is a very important part of truth coming from the mouths of babes. When I was 6 years old, I remember watching the news and they were telling me how horrible the new invasion, right? Most violent place. The Bronx was crazy. And then they said, here are the top 10 most peaceful places in the country. And Iowa was the first one. They were number one. So I remember as a 6-year-old laying in bed, I knew football, sports and stuff. I said, oh, I'm going to play college football in Iowa. That's what I said, right? Because it's the safest place. I told my mom, I said, Mom, I'm going to play college football in Iowa because it's the safest place.
At 6 years old.
At 6. And my mom's like, yep, baby, you are. Right? And so I go to bed and I remember mapping out my whole life, like literally my whole life, counting how many years it would take to graduate, how old I was going to be, when I would go to college, when I was going to meet my wife, because at the time, you got to know that, your girl got to be with you before you get the money. Because I'm going to the pros. That's going to happen. Right? But you got a junior year probably. Right? Then you're going to do that thing. This is 6 years old. Right? Fast forward, when I got to Mitchell, South Dakota was the number one most peaceful place in the country.
He brought you.
And only 3 hours from Iowa?
Right, only 3 hours from Iowa, right? So there we are. I'm like, okay, this is, when you look back, it came full circle. And I met my first wife as a junior.
Oh, yeah.
Which is crazy, right? Then we had our first child, and it was so all of it in place, right? And he took same situation where I had a good coach. He retires as a junior, as my junior year in college. We get a new coach my senior year. I learned
not to repeat
the cycle. I'm gonna be a little more open to this new guy. We didn't win a game my senior year, right? Tough, but and I got injured. So I knew, all right, football was closing. That door was closing. It was closing fast, but again, born into this new life of being a father, and I knew I was not going back to the Bronx, and I'm not going to raise my children in the Bronx. So I landed here, and I've raised my kids here. I've been here ever since, and I love it. And I've done ministry here. I was saved again when I was 25. I got baptized, reintroduced to Christ as a man, as a father, and it's different. It's just different, right? Yeah. When I first heard of a loving father, well, how do you do that? Your first image of God is your father. But if my father wasn't there, then I had to relate that to my mother. And my mother ruled with an iron fist, so God was very angry. Mm-hmm. God was always going to punish somebody, right? So then being a father, then you go, this is what
it's about.
It's different.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I heard a comedian say, when I held my son, I knew in the moment I'd die for him when he was born. I don't even know the guy. Right? He could be a complete a-hole. Mm-hmm. Right? But I would die for this kid, right? And then he said, when I grabbed my daughter, I knew I'd kill for her. So both my kids made me suicidal and homicidal at the very same time.
Oh my.
Kids will do that too.
Oh, yeah, they do it to you. They do it to you. But that's, again, when I look back at where I came from and where I'm at now, you couldn't have told me when I was 14 that I'd be in South Dakota. I'd be doing podcasts. I'd be doing hip-hop in South Dakota.
Not only that, but Christian hip-hop.
Christian hip-hop at that.
Yeah.
You couldn't have told me I was going to own 2 houses, have cars that I've bought and lost, and I wouldn't have believed you. Yeah. I wouldn't have believed you, right? And all the things. So now fast forward again, and because of what God did and took me to this place that I didn't know anything about South Dakota. I was 17 on my own. And I think about the prayer of Jabez, expand my territory. So I come all the way out to South Dakota and we establish things here. Now my mom is here. My brother's here. I got 2 brothers here. My nephews are here. My nieces are here. Only one I didn't come is my sister. She lives in North Carolina. But again, God, right? So it goes from, I'm going to take you out of your rut, and I'm going to place you in a place that is foreign, and you're around people that you're not comfortable with. Right? Yeah. I've never been around white people that I was comfortable with. And then it wasn't until I met Jeremy Pischke here, my teammate in college, and we had a real conversation. Young men, he's 18, I'm 17. We had a real conversation. He said, look, I just wanted to take you out to eat because we got to play together, and I've never played with anybody of color.
Ooh.
And I said, good, because I ain't never played with white people, so let's do this thing.
And
so we had a real good, and that's my brother to this day. Haven't spoken to him in years, but if I saw him today, that's my brother.
Yeah. That's
my brother. Jeremy Pischke, loved that dude. And that helped me acclimate and adjust. You know, and now, again, I'm here and I made my home here. My kids are from here. I love it. I love that none of my kids got a thug bone in their body. Right? And I'm proud of them, and I'm glad they don't have to live anything. And my brother, after a couple prison stints, he's here and he's thriving and he's doing amazing. I'm so proud of him. It's just been so crazy. Again, Checkmate.
Yeah, Checkmate. That'll be the title. Manny, I think I can attest to a lot of people who will be hopefully forwarding this to other kids that are possibly living still in the Bronx. I mean, living in really tough situations where they're parents are doing drugs, dealing drugs, and these kids are like, man, this isn't for me.
Right.
Same situation you were in. And what I'm hearing you say over and over is you never gave up.
No.
You never ever associated. You tried that life.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for you.
No.
You believed in Manny.
Yeah.
You told yourself, I'm going to live. It's like having that mindset of this is not my home.
Right.
Heaven is our home.
Right.
But I need to get somewhere else to make a good life for myself.
Right.
And you're such a great example of that. You're a great example of now living your life for Christ and just being like, all right, let's go. Let's go. Like, you've been there and...
Barbarian. I always say I'm a barbarian Christian, right? Like, there's the peacekeepers and there's peacemakers, right? And I'm going to keep the peace.
Yeah.
The peacemakers, they'll talk diplomatically, but, you know, in the Bible, there's plenty warriors out there.
Yeah.
Right? Jeremiah 46:3. Get your shields. Get your spears. Make your enemies flee. That it resonates with me when I asked God to tell me who He saw. That's the scripture He gave me. So at that point, I knew I'm a warrior spirit, and what happens with warrior spirits is you deal with battle.
Yeah.
That's what makes you that. Like, you can't. So, but nobody appreciate peace like a warrior.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, but I'm not afraid to go to war.
Yeah.
Well, you proved that when you were 12.
Yeah, right. Yes.
We're going to scrap.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. I don't recommend that to anybody listening. Don't fight 30
that
people.
might
That's dumb.
not have turned out the best
That's
for
dumb.
you.
That could have went bad.
Now you're not Jack Reacher.
Right, that is not a good. Yeah.
Oh, Manny, you are such a hoot. For anyone who wants to follow Manny, you're still, you're doing so many incredible things, and you're speaking into the lives of, especially through Think 3D, and just what y'all are doing is changing lives each and every day through so many different avenues and platforms of things that you got going on. And so I will link a lot of that in there for those who want to reach out to you, to ask you questions or anything like that. But thank you for sharing your story. It's never easy to, but you're a warrior for sure. It's great. Yeah.
It's an honor. I want you on my side.
Yeah, I'm on your side, bro. We're on the same team.
Good. We are.
We're on the same team.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks, Manny.